Hello everyone, as I noted in my last video, I had considered doing a series like this just because it seemed like kind of fun and potentially useful to some people. You know, I've been covering Kickstarter projects for about half a year now, and already thrice now I have encountered a horrible dating app project. We had the Keepsake project in the first season, so to speak, that was trying to do this whole AI-generated love talk question nonsense that, to be fair, some other apps are also doing, and they always suck anyway. Then we had the $1 million dating app project, which was the most non-specific nothing burger project to ever exist, frankly, but it asked for $1 million. And then we had the one project I covered last week. Holy hell, I already almost forgot the name. Companionation, that was it. I already fucking forgot because the name is just that goddamn terrible. Companionation, where it's doing this whole people vouch for other people and rating shit. And something that I really truly believe in is that I understand that there is quite a, the whole loneliness epidemic going around, that's why the whole manosphere thing is taken off, that's why there's this whole strange incel influencer movement going around, and it's all very cringe and kind of a little bit concerning, yes, but if there's one thing that I do genuinely believe is not the solution to any of it, it's more terrible dating apps. We already have enough terrible dating apps, it's just that people that they have horrible experiences on them, in part because by design they're quite often not great and ultimately just there to make money off of you, but also because people tend to not really have a great grasp of how to use these apps, and sometimes it seems like people are also embarrassed to even Google how to make their profiles functional. And so I decided to do a little bit of a series to, give a bit of advice, because I'm just going to put it to you this way. I am doing perfectly alright when it comes to getting dates and using these apps, and prefacing everything else in this video, I want to say, look at me. Do I look like some typical Giga Chad prototype, I don't think I do. My mewing streak is fucking terrible, it's abysmal. Do you see the shit that is lined up on the shelves back there? Does that look like, do these look like the shelves of a freaking Sigma Chad? No, they kinda don't, and yet I do perfectly alright, and I think it all comes down to just setting up your profile in a proper way and using these apps in a proper way. It's just that it's not always very self-explanatory how this shit works. It takes a bit of looking into how these apps operate, how their algorithms work, and also just how the other side uses these apps, how women use these apps. I will say this, these videos, this series is going to be mainly focused on guys using these apps, but ultimately anyone can take something out of these videos, I would hope, at the very least understanding how and why guys mess up their profiles. And for all the guys that have had terrible and abysmal even experiences on these apps and think that their profile is already the worst thing in the world and they have no chance in hell, I suggest that you actually somehow, look into creating a little bit of a fake profile, a female profile. You don't even need to add anything to it. And just to take a look at the profiles that guys have on these things, they are fucking sad. Your profile might be one of those sad profiles, but that's what we're here to fix. I will try to focus every episode on a specific thing, and today I want to be talking about how to just set up the basic fucking profile. Now, step one would be to pick out the proper app or whatever else you want to use, but I will say that these videos will mainly be focusing on Tinder, as it's the biggest one, it's the one I've had the most experience using, but at the same time, you can apply this shit to pretty much anything else. You sort of want to look into what is popular wherever you are, especially if you're not in the United States. There are specific, apps that are more popular in different countries. For example, in Latvia, second to Tinder, and most of these apps are going to be second to Tinder, pretty much fucking everywhere, would be Badoo. In other countries, I think in the United States, it might be Hinge, I'm not sure. Somewhere else in France, I think I looked, it's Happen, without an E because they're cool. You know, there's all kinds of different apps, and then some of them don't work in other places. You look into OkCupid or Bumble's a pretty nifty one. It's quite interesting. You got Field, you got Farmers Only, you got Black People Meet, you got options, okay? I also want to say that it would be completely fine to use multiple of these apps, you know, nothing to be embarrassed about there. You know, you're just playing the field. Oh shit, is that why the app is called that? Oh fuck, that's actually pretty fucking good. Once you've picked out your app, and in our case, well, we will be talking about Tinder, but, you know, you can transfer this information to something else. For example, if I'm talking about the main picture on your Tinder profile, well, obviously, in some other, you know, website or app, that just might mean your profile picture or whatever, you know, just extrapolate some fucking data, you know, for once in your goddamn life. There's some shit that should be quite obvious, but at the same time, I have used this app long enough to have the ability to tell you that some shit you might need to change and then delete your profile if you've already fucked this shit up. Have your real name, or at least some kind of recognizable nickname on your fucking profile. Don't try to be mysterious by putting down one goddamn letter. You're just gonna seem like an asshole. Don't go for a nickname that is supposed to be like an innuendo or sexual or something, like Big D. Yeah, I've seen shit like that on there. It's cringe. Nobody likes it. Nobody's gonna fucking swipe right on that. Just abandon that immediately. Now, does the name actually affect anything else except these immediate first impressions and associations? I don't fucking know. The algorithm sometimes gives me like 20 Alices in a row. Is that on purpose, or is that just me going insane? Am I schizophrenic? I don't know. Just have your real name though. Moving on, the most important part, obviously, of your profile is going to be your pictures. These are going to be the most important thing, because most people will go through a bunch of profiles when they're going on, you know, a little bit of a swiping surge on their, you know, little apps, and they're going to be mainly just looking at pictures. It is ultimately a game of first impressions, a game of attraction, and all of that. But for all the guys out there who are immediately like, ah, shit, I've already lost this one, I'm unlovable, I'm the ugliest motherfucker in the world, you're not. They're just not. The ugliest motherfucker in the world probably doesn't have access to the internet because they're locked in a fucking basement somewhere and just, you know, feed off of groundwater. They're not going to be out there on Tinder, so you are not the ugliest motherfucker in the world. You're also probably not the ugliest motherfucker on Tinder, because the ugliest motherfucker on Tinder isn't going to even have their face in the profile picture, okay? You are already ahead of the curve by having that. You're already ahead of the curve by having that. Having a good main picture and pictures in general is freaking key, dude. I have used this shitty app for, like, over half a decade at this point, and for most of that time, I got, like, nothing, zilch, nada, and in hindsight is because all of my pictures sucked ass. Not because I'm a horribly disfigured piece of shit. You know, you can have that opinion of me if you want, but that's not the reason, though. The reason was that all of them were selfies, all of them were fucking cringe, and just gave no indication that I would be a good partner in any fucking capacity. The point is, if you have had zero luck, it's very likely less to do with your looks and more to do with the content. Well, how would the content really affect it? I mean, you just said it's a game of attraction, it's a game of looks. Sure, attraction would be the main thing, but there is one more concern that a woman on Tinder is likely to have. Now, it's not always a conscious concern, it's not always a concern that is going to be at the forefront of their mind if you ask them, but it is definitely a concern, and that is fucking safety. Tinder is ultimately an app that leads you to meet up with strangers from the internet. So you need to have some kind of understanding that this person isn't going to fucking kill you. You know, maybe don't make your main profile picture you in a fucking balaclava in a dimly lit room holding a big knife. You know, maybe swap that photo out. She might not ponder too long about how charming your personality might be if she sees that fucking picture. So your profile shouldn't be, like, immediately threatening to look at, but there are some more, like, subtle things that you might want to change around for pretty much the same effect. Your main profile picture should show your face very clearly, well lit. You should just be visible there, you know, that's pretty obvious, of course, and a lot of apps will actually just straight up tell you your main profile picture needs to show your face in it. And when it comes to photos in general, don't make every single one of them a selfie, and avoid the majority of them being selfies if possible. You basically want to show that at some point, at least once in your life, you have communicated with another human being long enough to have your photo taken. Do not make all of your photos yourself in your home. Literally just at least go outside, touch some grass, take a photo of that. Further show that you can be trusted to be let out into broader society by taking photos with your friends and putting those on there. Although you shouldn't really put in more than maybe 1 or 2 group photos, and also this one isn't really necessary, it's just sort of reassuring in a way. And also don't make most of your pictures like memes or pet photos or something. 1 or 2 are fine to show that, you know, you have a sense of humor and that you might be an animal person, you might like pets, but don't overdo it. It'll come off as like a lack of confidence or something. I mean, and I'm not sure about that. I mean, I'm not very confident about that, which is why I have both of those on my profile. But Walter, I have no friends. Who can take a picture of me? Just literally just go outside and go up to a fucking stranger and ask them to take a photo of you. Like, seriously, you can do that. Just find someone who doesn't look like they're going to stab you over this, and someone who doesn't look like they're going to take your camera or your phone and just fucking run off with it, have your photo taken, relax. And if you're saying, well, that's fucking anxiety-inducing, but tough shit, you're also going to have to interact with, like, the person you match with in real life at some point, you know, might as well get a practice in with a stranger you don't give a fuck about. Or, you know, alternatively, buy a tripod. Now, your first photo is your main seller. Again, it should have you fully visible, right in frame, right front and center, preferably looking your best, and ideally in some capacity showing off your personality and interests. What exactly you make it sort of depends on who you're intending to match with and for what reason. Now, obviously, a generic, handsome-looking photo will get you, you know, a good amount of likes, but it can't guarantee interactions beyond getting those likes and those matches because, well, your main sort of draw will be people just matching with other attractive people, and that doesn't always mean that there will be some kind of connection to have a conversation about. And the other person is probably also quite likely to have a lot of matches with people they find attractive and just be flooded with DMs. You might be a bit drowned out there. If you want to match with nerds and like geeks and dorks, and people who genuinely share your interests, show those interests in your main photo. My main photo is this cosplay picture, and I've had plenty more interaction on this app since I've started using it. I think I look pretty good in it, and it shows pretty much, well, what I'm all about. There are alternatives, of course. For example, if you own a car and you basically just want to, you know, get your wee-wee wet, there are genuinely women on Tinder who will just look at a picture of you in a car and, you know, want to go out on a date so they can go on a ride. I genuinely don't know why that's the case, but it is. A goofier photo might limit the number of matches you get, but it might make it more likely that you might match with someone you share these vibes with. You know, you feel free to experiment a little bit and see what gets you more attention, what doesn't. There are plenty of people on these apps, and even if you live in an area where you might run out of people, you know, don't fret too much, because after a while, and Tinder doesn't really advertise this, but after a while, it sort of resets and starts showing you people again who you missed matches with, or who didn't like you before, right? Like, just, I don't know when this happens, but I've seen the people, like, cycle back. Now, we've gotten through the photos, let's get through the rest of the fucking profile. Now, most of the stuff on these profiles tends to be pretty self-explanatory, and the more you fill out, the more likely you are to have a good time on these apps. There's basically little reason not to fill any of these sections out, no matter how silly they are. Let's just say, for example, you smoke, and you're worried that a non-smoker might not be interested in dating you as a result. Well, you should still put that in there if it's asking if you smoke, because Well, for starters, if you are going to be dating someone who doesn't smoke and hates smokers and doesn't want to date a smoker and you smoke, well, that's still going to fall apart the moment they fucking find out about it. Meanwhile, if you're worried about someone just filtering smokers out, well, that usually means that they're going to be using one of those premium features that let them sort these tags out, and they're going to be filtering out people who don't have the doesn't smoke tag instead of filtering people out who have the smoke tag, meaning that whether or not you have that tag on your profile, you're still not going to show up. So that's just a little bit of a technicality thing. Now, if we're talking about Tinder specifically, the interest section is stupid, it is bullshit, it is one of the worst systems I have ever fucking seen in anything. This is the world's biggest dating app, and oh my god, their fucking interest system looks like this shit. But that said, you should still, be honest about your interests. You should fill it out. But personally, there are some that I would avoid. Avoid ones that you would look at and sort of roll your eyes at, not because it's an interest that, it's a niche interest, or because, it's a nerdy interest or whatever. Those are great, those are fine, and you will find people in the same interests. But, avoid shit like foodie or something, who the fuck unironically calls themselves a fucking foodie? And you have to choose 5 interesting things about yourself, and one of them is, like, food? Fucking kill it. Now on to the description. Your description is probably the one place that matters the most after your photos, and it is the most likely thing someone will check if they aren't just swiping based on looks. You need to be concrete, you can't seem too generic, too boring, too dry, or mismatch the energy between your description and your photos, If you look too gloomy in all of your fucking pictures, and you have this extremely upbeat description on your profile, that's going to be a massive mismatch. That is going to cause some serious, fight or flight instincts to kick in. Have it, at the very least, if you're not going to be, too ecstatic in your photos, don't be too ecstatic in your fucking profile description. That's just going to be even weirder. Beyond that, no stupid pickup lines, no stupid fucking one-liner jokes. Do not Google, oh, what would be a great line to put into my Tinder profile. Nobody wants to see that shit. Actually write something yourself. Don't make Google or fucking ChatGPT write this shit. It's going to be awful if you do that. A part of why it would be awful is that whatever you write here represents you, and then when you match with a person, well, you're going to have to talk to them, and at that point, if the way you, or again, ChatGPT or Google wrote your stupid fucking description doesn't match the way you carry yourself in conversation, the other person is going to lose interest because they were interested in the person they saw in the description, which isn't you. You should use this place to elaborate on your hobbies, your free time, your interests, your work, reasons why you're on this app. Be concise though, because nobody's going to be reading a short story, okay? And that sort of about covers the profile part, In the next video, I'd like to talk more about how to actually use these apps and how to play the algorithm a little bit, about swiping, about actually messaging people. But I suppose not to overdo it on episode 1, I'm going to cut it here. Let me know if you've had any good or bad luck with these apps, what worked and didn't work for you. I would like to encourage that sort of discussion in descriptions, including if you had some other experience that didn't involve specifically Tinder or another dating app like Tinder, or if you had other avenues that you want to suggest to people. I think that considering that this is kind of a major issue that is going around and it's either met with mockery or as this world-ending thing, I feel like it's worth having a bit of an earnest discussion about these things and, but also, have a little bit of fun about them. So, I'll see you in the next video where I tell you how to crush pussy. Leave it to my president, tell you we degenerates. Niggas that wasn't supposed to. Oh, he's actually Shrek. Oh, that's still kind of on you though.
Companionation to the rescue.
Companionation provides ratings and reviews so that you can be sure you know who you are really meeting. Every single member is guaranteed by another member to be a real person who is really in your city.
So first off, the biggest issue, and the main reason that literally any dating app that tries to launch on Kickstarter, or frankly, tries to launch anywhere,